Hey, Sven here. It's now week 28, 2026, and I haven't been in touch for 2 or 3 weeks now with an update. It's simply because I've built so many new features into the system lately and changed a lot. And I'm slowly starting to feel the excitement building that the system will soon be ready for use. The most spectacular part, at least visually speaking, is this alignment page here, where you see your purpose. You can also collapse that, you see your vision. Here you already see buttons so that you can directly add a goal and an outcome. And the goals and outcomes, you see those down here. And I've been thinking about how I can manage to represent such a hierarchy. So on the one hand, goals and outcomes. But if the outcomes apply for a year, then there might be quarterly goals underneath them again. And then that creates a huge tree structure. And that's not so easy to handle at all. The best solution for me at the moment looks like what you see here. That means I have the goals here. There are 4 of them now, yeah? And you can also recognize these goals by this little target icon here. And these goals, they then have their outcomes here. When I hover over them with the mouse, I see the details. Then I also see here on this little icon at the bottom that there's something else underneath, yeah? So at this arrow one here, you can see there's something else hidden underneath. But to be able to display the whole thing, I'll expand this here again. And now only this subtree is expanded, yeah? That means now I see the outcomes here, and in these outcomes I see goals again, like for example the quarterly ARR here for Q3. And here too I can then expand the outcomes, which are 5 of them here, and see the ones underneath. Yes, I can of course also enlarge, shrink, and move everything around here. That's quite pleasant, of course. And whenever I click on a goal or an outcome, you'll see that there's this little edit button right here on the right side, just over here, which you can use if you want to make any changes. And when I click on it, then the dialog slides in here from the side where I can edit it. So for example, here, the title, then the description, then the link to a metric, so to a KPI, which you can also have generated here if you want to have it generated as a suggestion. What is the overarching goal? So that's how the hierarchy is defined. And then we have, for example, okay, this is an annual goal with a target date. In which domain? This is in sales, for example. Who is accountable for it? And then things like being able to do an alignment check are interesting, for example. Namely, we have these principles, the governance topics in our company settings and also in the system settings. And if there's a deviation here, it'll be shown to me. And then it says, well, you have a nice idea, but it's not quite in line with what you actually defined as a company, how you want to work. Then there's the company context here, which covers all these topics like governance, company principles and values, direction and strategy. That means I can always read up on everything here if I don't have it at hand, because these are sometimes rather extensive topics. And from here, I could then directly create any work items. So create tasks that are assigned to it. And just as I have it here with the outcome, I can logically also display a goal for myself. The dialog looks almost the same, naturally containing the different fields that you need. And here you can also see the respective sub-outcomes, which you can also have generated here as a suggestion. So that's already been a whole lot of work here, this thing. And it helps you in a way to sharpen your focus on what we actually have planned. What do we have planned in 5 years? What do we have planned this year? What do we have planned this quarter? It's all in here. And the work derived from that, that's then the operational business. Okay, we just took a very quick look at the metrics here. I'll go straight into the menu here. There we see, for example, whatever, here now. Number of pilots that should be live. The metric is active, but it's critical because 5 items is the goal, and at the moment it's at 0. In which domain is that? Customers, logically. And how often is this KPI measured? Weekly. And then I can also look at the details here. And then you see, for example, what is the description? Then here again, which domain is it? Is it a leading or a lagging? KPI? The cadence, I just said. Then the direction, higher, lower, or reaching a goal. And then you see a small color representation here of how it should be. So from 4, it's yellow, and at 3, it becomes red. And these metrics, they are then through the link with the outcomes. Exactly what I can then look at. Okay, but we've made a whole lot of other changes. I'll go all the way down here. The settings, I've now put them into a submenu like this because there are already a larger number of entries. The first thing that changed, it's just a visual change, is the cadence dialog, which finally looks reasonably clear now. Where I can say here, quarter or trimester, then I can go into the individual entries. For example, here, the weekly meeting, when does it take place? Then I can say who participates in it. What is the standard agenda and who are the standard participants? I just said that wrong. Not who is participating, but who is the one accountable for this meeting. So as I said, just a visual improvement. Then next we have here in the company section, the business model canvas. I had that in here before in another version. Now it actually looks like a business model canvas. Yes, that means we have the entries in here. If I want to edit them, then I click on edit, and now I can just move it back and forth. I can edit it, I can delete it, I can have new ones added here via a synchronization with the company settings. Then we have the value proposition canvas here. It's basically exactly the same. Yes, for the company data, there is a small change here that I can now also add my logo, which is then displayed here at the top left. Yes, not particularly spectacular, but simply necessary. Then a very important topic always when such a system is used, that the AI should also do a lot of work, then that also has a lot to do with external communication. And that's why there is now also a brand kit here. And this brand kit contains a whole lot of fields where I can set how the company speaks. Yes, so source of truth on brand is used for the quality checks, but also when generating content. Yes, for example, here, confident, plain spoken, blah, blah, blah. Then what should be done? For example, the benefits should be emphasized, but what should not be done? Do not use corporate jargon or buzzwords. No superlatives without proof that it's true. Which words should not be used? For example, game-changing, yes, one of my absolute hate words. What are the key messages? The logo is only displayed here. Additionally, here you can then, I still have to fix that. Here you can then add a logo symbol. So in our case, for example, this 4-stage symbol here. Then what kind of color palette do I have? We need that too when something is generated. Which fonts to use for heading and body? And then what audience do we have? And this audience, it comes from the company strategy settings, where we say what is our industry, not industry, what is our market, what is our ICP, and which personas are in there. And these personas are now displayed here so that I can conveniently refer to them as needed whenever any communication is made, because we also have the possibility here to enter all the channels. By default, we have LinkedIn, blog, X, email, and newsletter here. And if I go in here, for example, then I see channel name is email, short subject, maximum 200 words, a call to action, and so on. Then here with salutation and so on. And in this way, I can now directly define here how communication is handled. And this isn't just used in marketing, but also when I'm talking to customers or with prospects in sales, for example, and so on. Here you can then have the whole thing actively generated as an example. And here you can have these fields automatically filled in already for an initial draft. Yes, so that is the brand kit. Then, very exciting, the integrations. I've now moved all the elements that have anything to do with integration over to here. So the intake sources, we still need to work on those. AI, LLM, there are a few minor changes there, for example, that I can now specify which image model should be used. That means we can now also generate images in the chat. Otherwise, nothing has changed here. And particularly exciting, of course, is the connection with external systems. Yes, you can see that here already. A few are already connected: Stripe, GitHub, Linear, and Notion. Trello is still not quite finished, so I'll just have to complete the connection here. And if I go to add connection here now, then I get a very large list of well-known systems that I can connect directly via an MCP server or via an API key or something else. And I can also connect other systems here via a custom MCP server. And now just keep Linear in mind because I have a very small example there that I'll show you later in the video. So those were the integrations. Then let's go to the knowledge items. I showed those recently too, but there's also a change and improvement here now. So for one thing, if I say here now, new knowledge item, then I'll say, first of all, I can first specify a title here and a description. And now I could write a long text in here, save it, and that's it. And with that, I would have already created a knowledge item, a knowledge document. I can also combine it, meaning I can write some text here and then add one or more documents here. And I'll just take our white paper here now. So what I can do here is I can basically go ahead and extract the relevant information from this white paper right here. Then what I'll do is I'll call this document the Rocket Routine white paper. And after that, I'll make sure to add English to it as well. I'll leave the description blank. And if I add several documents here, then these documents represent a single knowledge item. So, and down here now I can also say, if this is a source of truth, meaning knowledge that is binding for the entire organization. And down here, extracted content, you see not yet processed, so nothing's happened yet. I don't know if I've said it already, extract images. So I can also have images extracted from the documents. And if I save this now, we'll come back to the overview here. Now you see a little pill here. It says pending at the moment. Now it goes to processing. The document has 10 to 12 pages. It's finished quickly, as you can see. It's already on ready. And now let's take another look. And now we see down here at extracted content, I can open this now. And now we see the entire text that was extracted here. But we also see here, for example, that the image was extracted. Yeah, and this image is completely abstract for now, so the system can't really do anything with it. And if I open this here now, I can also say this is the Rocket Routine. Oops, Rocket Routine logo. Save. And then the thing is saved. There's still an error there. I need to fix that. Yeah, it's using the wrong model here. Not the one that's configured at all. So, and now through this post-processing, I can describe content that the system can't recognize itself. Like this Claude Haiku wouldn't have recognized that it's the logo anyway, and you'll see what that's good for in a moment. So let's save it. This is basically how we build up our entire company knowledge base. And later on, it'll also be the case that elements created during work will be included there. So even something like you get your monthly business assessment and then you just slide it in there, then it gets processed accordingly. And now you can make a query like how much revenue did we make in January according to the assessment? And then that information comes out. So then the skills, I'm not even sure if I've shown them yet. In any case, I have proper skill management here now. That means I can edit the skills directly here. What do they look like? What's the name of it? What's the description? Those are exactly the two elements needed to recognize if a skill, if a skill can be used. What category is it? Is the thing active? And here you can see the complete skill description, either nicely and clearly formatted or simply displayed in the regular Markdown format. I am also able to import a skill directly as Markdown right here if needed. You can also see where the things come from, like if there are any other files it refers to. And then there's a version history here, so if I change something in a skill, I can see that, what has changed. But I can also reset it to an old version. And these skills, if I step out for a moment, I can assign them directly to the AI operators here. So I could say, for example, the virtual CEO is allowed to use all these skills. And I can just as easily do it in the respective actor. Those were the skills. So, and now where does all this lead? It all leads into our chat in the end. And the chat isn't quite 100% how I imagine it yet, because I've started a major change here that isn't finished yet. Namely, I'm going to take all these session types we have here in the company, have in the application. I'm going to integrate them all in here so that you can operate it intuitively. At the moment, you have to click on decisions for a decision. If you want to talk to the AI knowledge personas, you have to click on consultations. That's all not really that great. And if you're holding a meeting, then you have to conduct that meeting in a special dialog like that. I'm going to merge it all here now. I can't show that yet because it's still it's coming soon. But then it'll be automatic. If I do a consultation, for example, it'll be like me saying, well, who do I actually want to consult here? And then it brings in the corresponding actors that you want to have. Or if you want to make a decision, then you'll be guided through the decision by the moderator, which is the AI chat here. So those are all the kinds of things that should also be very intuitive to use. Okay, but now let's just do a completely normal chat. That means I'll take a virtual CEO now and start a new session. And now I can still choose down here whether I want the simple model or the more complex model. So now with GPT, for example, the numbers you get are 3.5 and 4, just to give you an idea. And now at this point, I can ask something like, well, what are our goals for Q3 2026? Then it searches this tools box, which will of course be made smaller so that it's only visible as a small heading. Now it pulls out all the goals it found for us. Now I could do something with them in some way. The first access to elements from the system already. Earlier during the integration, I spoke about Linear. That would be another example where I created an account here with Linear. It's basically a system like that for tracking work. And now we see 4 tickets here that are in the to-do status. And there are a few more. One is done and one is still in the backlog. And now I can actually go back in here, for example, and say, show me all of the open tickets from Linear, please. That way I can see everything that's currently unresolved. And just from the name Linear, it then recognizes, then I have to call up this tool from Linear. You can already see it here. Yeah, you can read all about it in detail there. And now you can see these 4 tickets here that are still open. And now I could also say, close the ticket or add a comment and so on. And that's how you'll be able to chat with all systems here in the future. And of course, you can do that with systems like Claude, Cowork or something like that really well too. But here you can chat as a company, and above all, you always have your entire context. That means everything we have in the configuration, everything in the goals, all the documents we have, it all comes together in the end. And that's the big difference, why I say you need a system like this and can't just build it yourself with others in some way or another. Okay, then you can also see here in the inspector everything that happened. So we didn't need any skills, we didn't need any memory, we didn't do knowledge web search. Oh, I have to see if it even works, which model we used, how many tokens and what it cost. Let's just go back in. Specifically, I wanted to try out the web search. Could you show me the current news headlines, about the FIFA World, what's that thing called in English again? I really can't remember right now. No idea, championship. Yeah, that's it. So if you could just bring up the latest headlines or updates about that, I'd appreciate it. Well, I would write WM here, but yeah, whatever. And now it should theoretically access the internet. Yes, web search, there we have it. So that it can access external systems at any time. Good. Some news. I still have to make the links clickable. And last but not least, what else did we want to do? Could you please show me the Rocket Routine logo whenever you have a moment? That means now it should theoretically find it in this white paper. It finds us. Yes, there it is. Yes, it finds the logo in the white paper too. It says, yes, here it is. And so we've basically brought all the elements together in one place. So far, so good. So those were really 2 incredible weeks that have passed now with a lot of work. And speaking of work, I can give you a quick glimpse here. This is my team that I'm developing Rocket Routine with. There are 4 developers, 2 project managers, 2 QA, and this is the head of development. And they work together and develop this system. Super exciting topic. If you're interested in that, instead of Rocket Routine, you can of course talk to me about it too. I'll probably get back to you in a week with the improved chat. And if it works out, maybe also with the first version of the meetings, which should then also be held within the chat. Have fun. And if you're on the waiting list, you can already get ready. I assume that we will go live with the first pilot customers in August at the latest. So look forward to it. See you then. Bye.